Oh shit, Culver's is doing menu items shit? Like what? Poutine? I wouldn't be surprised if they did poutine. They got the cheese curds already. I don't think it's going to be Warren for VP just because, like, obviously she did her job for the party and she helped kneecap Bernie, and she's looking for something for that. But I mean, I don't think they trust her just because they have had trouble with her in the past. Like a lot of reasons that people who should have known better sort of gave Warren the benefit of the doubt. I mean, and some of it was cynical, but I honestly feel some of it was earnest. Is because of her antagonistic position towards Obama during the bailouts. And I feel like that's not going to be forgotten. Not when you have options, and not when you don't have to give it to her. I mean, what's her leverage right now? She's already endorsed Warren. She has no leverage. So I'd say it's probably somebody who there's been like they're more confident of, like Warren, like Harris possibly. I guess maybe it comes down to how scared they are of Bernie people sitting out. Although the idea of them trying to mollify Bernie people by giving it to fucking Warren is pretty fucking hilarious. People keep asking when Biden's going to announce his VP pick, but they generally don't do it historically until right before the convention. So it'll be a while if they stick with that. I've never been to Foxwoods. No, I've been to the Menominee Casino in Milwaukee though. Played bingo there. Yes, lock de flambeau. Kamala, I think Kamala's the safe choice, so that's probably who they're going to go with because they're looking at those polls and they feel like they got this thing in the bag, so they're going to do the lowest risk maneuver they can, and a presidential campaign vetted senator is a good one, even though nobody likes her. She doesn't excite anybody. Just like Tim Kaine, they figure they don't need that. And honestly, they might be right. I mean, the way things are looking now, I really don't see, barring a complete collapse by Biden in like physical and mental, which I think they're going to keep him zapped up on enough anticoagulants and giving him like ground up rhino horn and adrenochrome and donkey tranquilizers that he will make it through. Although I do kind of think that he will not debate Trump. I still kind of have a feeling that there's no way we get the Trump-Biden race that we all want, or the Trump-Biden debate that we all want. So I was for a while thinking that Trump wouldn't debate Biden, but I think he will because, hey, Sleepy Joe, it'd be great to own him. Biden, I think, has a real danger about, well, what if he has like a pants shit moment? What if he has a real wool gathering, like Stockdale in '92 thing, where he just kind of clips out? That could genuinely risk him. So maybe they figure out a way to say we're not debating Trump. We're not going to platform this fascist. Like, think about that. If Biden said in September, we're not going to debate because we don't want to platform this fascist monster, how would the media respond to that? They would say he's right, because how can you argue after having spent 4 years making that argument about platforming? How do you say that he's wrong, especially if you're rooting for him? You don't. He would get a media reprieve for being the first presidential candidate since I think Nixon to refuse to debate. All I know is there's no way we get it. There's no way we get a great debate like that. Either they switch him out somehow because he's literally dying, or he cancels them. I just can't imagine. I guess, oh God, there's one more even worse option, one more even more depressing option. And honestly, now I'm thinking it's more even likely than that, is that they do debate and it sucks. They have a debate and it's just boring. They both read from the prompters, they hit their cues. None of them go off on tangents. None of them start really riffing on corn pop or hanging out with Cheryl Tiegs at the Model Cafe, and it's just another political debate. That would be the grimmest possible outcome, and that's why I think it's probably going to happen, more likely than anything. And that's why we're not going to get the Sons debate, as much as that would be amazing. Don Jr. versus Hunter, that would be truly transcendent. Maybe in 4 years when Don Jr. runs for president, and then maybe Hunter can run against him. Because we know Biden's only going to do one term. Maybe he anoints his son as his successor, like he wanted to do with Beau. Maybe he just says, fuck it. He's 82 years old. He just leers it up and goes, here, we're giving all that shit to, we're giving the patrimony to Hunter. That would be great. Why is the K-Hive so psycho? That's a good question. I was thinking about that today because some friends and I were talking about the Veep stakes, and about how, Biden's really, he painted himself into the corner with this black woman thing, and, it's probably bad that he doesn't feel like he has more variety. And then somebody said, it would be hilarious if he picked Mitt Romney. And the thing is that he's not really restrained to pick a black woman, because according to the vast majority of these people who will really care, like obviously for most people, VP picks are meaningless. This is really just about like shaping narrative and keeping your most motivated volunteer type people and like leading edge voters excited. It's not going to matter to the general public, but all these people who are now like, he's got to pick a black woman and all that, if he doesn't, they are on record without anything to do, because they have said explicitly that they will not abandon him because of the importance of beating Trump, which means that he could pick anybody. He could pick Chris Dodd, guy who's basically a clone of him. He could pick Hunter. He could pick Mitt Romney. And what are they going to do about it? What are you going to do? Forget about it. Get out of here. Get your fucking shine box. And I think that's true of most of these people, but it is not true of the K-Hive. I think the K-Hive would actually not only not vote for Biden, but some of them might try to take a shot at him, because they are the people who have essentially become identity politics Wahhabists, where they have gathered all of their political meaning, like the good and evil, and their personal investment in politics, their identity as a political agent, as someone trying to shape their lives and destinies and the future of their families and their species, around a very specific ideological matrix, around which, with brittle to non-existent ideology underlying it, and as such, they're not going to take. That's the one thing that will make them. The thing they might have told everyone else, hey, suck it up, beating Trump is too important. But I think for a small group of them, they would actually do some Puma shit if she didn't get it. But from the point of view, if I'm Biden, these are an insignificant number of people. And Harris, I think, honestly, would be a bad pick. I mean, not only I think it'd be funny if he didn't pick her, but I also think he could do better. Like that Karen Bass or something. I honestly I'm kind of now of the opinion that like a relatively unknown black female congresswoman would be the best pick, because it would be something people could talk about that wasn't Trump or Biden, because they're stuck in a thing where, you want to be able to define yourself. You need to have some sort of positive, shape to your campaign. You can't completely rely on your opponent shitting the bed. I mean, you can mostly do it, and you can try to do it, but I think people assume there are limits, and I think people are going to act with the assumption that there are limits to that. And so you want to have something positive to talk about your campaign. And like, if they roll out, hey, meet this person, and it's somebody who basically nobody had heard about a week ago, becoming an overnight celebrity, that's the kind of thing that could actually hold a news cycle or two. I mean, I don't think it will, given how the Cuisinart of sensory overload we live in, but it could. Certainly more than him picking Kamala Harris. Old news. She ran it. Boo. It's all. Immediately they go to, ooh, what about the time in the debate they fought and all that tedious shit. And what about her being a cop? Blah, blah, blah. You don't gain anything. It's just it's somebody who's already out, who's been in the deck, brought back out. Oh, yeah, we know that. Boo. You got to bring in someone new, someone flashy, somebody to get people going. Get the people moving. And like with Trump being the nominee, with Biden being the avatar of Wall Street experience, if not competence, since sure people know that his brain's melting, but
At least they don't think that he's not, you know, that he doesn't know where the fucking bathroom is and that kind of thing. Just unless he's forgotten. So I don't think there's any real danger of people being like, oh, she's not very qualified. I mean, who's president, for Christ's sake? I think it immediately becomes, here's a new person, and so many people can form beliefs around, people they can make memes over, a way to sort of launder this dog shit dead carcass of a campaign into something animated. So, yeah, fuck it. Karen Bass, go for it. Val Denning, somebody like that. Whoever you think is like going to get them in front of a focus group, and whoever lights up the dials most. Kamala just unfollowed Biden. I saw that. Girl, I need a tea. Someone spill it. I gotta say, if they don't pick her, I will be surprised, because that seems like the smart move. And they're really just playing prevent defense here, which is kind of surprising. So I kind of still think it will be them. It will be her, just because it's the what they would perceive as the lowest, like the highest percentage play, in that it has the lowest chance of having a spectacular or unintended negative consequence. Whereas Kamala Harris doesn't change anything or make anything interesting, but that's, in their mind, enough. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Mayor Pete. It would be hilarious, because all the people who have been saying, you know, Biden's intersectional, Biden is listening to women, and he has to listen to women and all that, or he has to recognize BLM and have a black or a female or both VP. They will. I don't even know if they'll even be able to have 1 second of expressed public anger, because the immediate question will be, what are you going to do about it? And the answer is nothing. They're not going to do a fucking thing. They can't do shit. They've already said that. I do hope it's somebody from left field, because Kamala is just such a boring pick. I'm already snoozing thinking about it. Give me somebody interesting. Oh, the gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills in somebody else's name. So if you're going to California, don't matter at all what you're planning for. California is a brand new game. There we go. We're all here. It's Kamala, folks. Who cares? Boringest possible choice. That was why it was the most likely. No, the one good thing about it is now you don't have to talk about it, because what's to talk about? Z, 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 snooze. Don't care. Don't care. To quote Jay Cutler, don't care. Once again, this is a YP, not an MP. Like I said, there'd be something, if they wanted to make it interesting, they would have picked somebody who was not already turned over and slapped around and spit out by the primary process, which found her to be so thunderingly uninteresting that she didn't make it to a fucking Iowa, because she didn't want to get shelled in California, where she was in 4th place. Amazing. Well, don't have to talk about that anymore. Thank God. Somebody asked if Kamala is the worst VP pick since Lieberman. I think Kamala is an absolute. She is the Kaine. She's basically. She is as much of a safety pick as Tim Kaine was, just with a slightly different political valence, because Biden's different than Hillary. I don't think it's good or bad. It just is. And I honestly think probably there is no such thing as a good pick. They're all going to be terrible. And they weren't going to pick somebody they wouldn't be able to control, because Biden could die at any moment, and they all know that. Copper pipes.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to that thing that I was asking about, like, what is the project of the Democrats post-Trump? I think it's telling about that lack of alternatives that the last two major political movements have been very held up in creating popular opposition to the person of somebody.
Yeah.
The Tea Party and the popular right-wing revulsion that, at least in its broadest considerations, were a revulsion at the person of Barack Obama.
Barf Sacco Crumbo, yeah.
And then that resulting in, plus other factors resulting in Trump. And then at this point, 2 months out from the 2020 election, that the popular formulation of the Democrats is mostly a revulsion to the person of Donald Trump.
Yes. Yeah.
That there is no force to be considered, at least in the broad minds of the populace. It's just these guys that we got to get out of there. We got to get this guy out of here.
We got to get him out of here, and then it'll be okay. I think what the Republicans found out is that once your guy is out of there, things don't get any better. But man, it's fun watching the libs get pissed, and that then becomes its own manna, its own ambrosia, its own opiate. And I don't think the libs got anywhere near that kind of satisfaction from watching the conservatives freak out about Obama, especially after the midterms in 2010. And it's hard to imagine them getting any real satisfaction out of watching Biden be president, especially since it's really, some people have said that like Biden might actually be able to deliver on his promise of de-escalating the cultural conflict just because he himself is such a bland, empty vessel that he doesn't contain any of like the red flags that enrage. I mean, there's a reason that Trump constantly says that Biden's not actually in charge of the Democratic Party, that it's the squad and that it's Antifa, because the person of Biden can't sustain that anxiety and that terror the way that the person of Barack Hussein Obama could. And I don't know if that's true. I suspect it isn't. Certainly if, they carry out the austerity depression response that they're likely to pursue. But at the same time, Biden does seem to be such a symbolically empty figure on both sides that it makes me feel that we're probably not going to see some sort of ratcheting down just because conditions are going to keep getting worse. But the thing people fight about is probably not going to be the person of the president. It could be, but it just seems hard to sustain. Unless Kamala Harris becomes president, and then all bets are off. Oh, man, I cannot. You know what? I'll watch the VP debate for the cringe, because Kamala is an incredibly cringy debater. Does anyone remember when she made her last Hail Mary attempt for attention and market share in the debates? I think it was the last debate before she dropped out, was when she tried to galvanize the field by calling on all of her fellow candidates to come together to demand that Twitter ban Trump because he's violating the terms of service. And she asked Warren if she would say today to add her name to this call, which is a classic thing you do in primary races. Is a candidate will say, will like lay down an ideological marker or like make a bid, which then if their opponents they're stuck in a Kobayashi Maru situation, a Hobson's choice between saying no and alienating themselves from a popular position, or saying yes and looking like they're taking orders from the person who should be, by rights, the candidate. Because, like, I'm sorry, shouldn't the person giving the commands be the one who you give the nomination to? But it didn't work because nobody gives a shit about. It's not a no-brainer a policy. It's not one that's going to galvanize people. It's nerd bullshit. It's mommy. It's not being fair. It's not fair. Not even like that he's saying specific things. It's that he's breaking the rules. And she asked Warren to do it, and Warren said no, because she correctly intuited that it was not an issue where she had to worry about being on the wrong side of majority. I mean, I could see her getting totally rooked in that move by a different person with a different point. But like Kamala came in with just the absolute laziest fucking haymaker ever seen on earth. Just ducking that thing was nothing. And it was humiliating. She got bodied by fucking Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, over her record. And she had that thing, and that little girl, it was me, deal with Biden, which just actually fucked her over pretty badly among Democratic voters. They thought it was manipulative and unfair. Which goes to show, I think, that like the whole argument about woke shit on the internet, it really is beside the point, because that Kamala move to hit him on segregation like that, and hit him on busing specifically, and then connecting it to her lived experience, that should be the kind of thing that wins. That should be the kind of thing that works. Or conversely, the kind of thing that shapes the race. Instead, she tried it. Everyone said ew, and then nobody really did anything like that again. So there's clearly no like hegemonic liberal insistence on ID poll, that's like making it impossible to make a populist left case. Like clearly that stuff has a limited impact on the general public. So how can it be the face of the whole thing? How can it be this like dominant propaganda mode imposed from without, when it's barely anything anyone can make hay of as a candidate? They tried and nobody succeeded. Who got nominated? The old white guy. I know there's a theory that that's because Bernie went to ID poll, but I'm sorry, I paid attention to that campaign, and just because AOC said in a speech after she endorsed him something about like brown bodies in a rally, that was not what the contours of the Sanders campaign were about. And it sure as shit wasn't what people were telling pollsters and telling everyone who had listened to them why they weren't supporting him. They were saying because Medicare for all is unrealistic, because socialists can't win, and we got to beat Trump. And that has to do with hegemonic capitalist ideological infrastructure that has captured the minds of a significant portion of the Democratic electorate, coupled with the fact that the Democratic primary electorate is increasingly wealthy, increasingly detached from any motivation to pursue material redistribution. Like those are the people, those white suburbanites who flooded the polls in Virginia and in South Carolina, and helped turn the tide and kind of just stifle the whole thing, because they saw Bernie winning and they said, "Oh fuck, no." He did get it across people's mind that he was the socialist candidate. He was the candidate for radical change. Everyone bought that. I do not remember anybody talking about him being the candidate of fucking LBGT whatever, or bodies and spaces, however you want to phrase it. Any of the icky, alienating ID poll that is supposed to make it impossible to make a leftist material appeal in the current moment. He did it. He did it. And the forces of power, the forces of capital, arrayed their mechanisms to defeat it for that reason. Aided by the fact that people can't imagine change of that nature. We have been so fully marketized that we cannot see anything other than this. And that's why when Bernie showed up, people were like, these appeals actually directly hit me where I live, and the world you're sketching is one that I know would be better than the one we live in. But it is prima facie impossible. And therefore, you can't go forward with that plan. That's sobering and terrible, but it really does show that the question of like the social issues that has defined this idiotic argument online for the past 4 years actually isn't influencing the political structures that these things are supposed to be determining. At least not the way that people are claiming they are. One way or the other, like whether they're priorities for people and it's alienating to try to avoid them, and that you have to speak about people's lived experiences for your socialism to have a chance, because otherwise they're going to think it's too male-centric or whatever the hell. Or that, all that icky trans feelings, pronoun, college stuff alienates regular people who just want to grill and have health care. That is only happening to the people who are focusing in through the prism of this hothouse of online argumentation, where they have to find something to fight about because they're paying attention every second of the day, and they're requiring stimulation and they're requiring argumentation because they've made it into a subculture. Because these are subcultural questions. I do know that Kamala's stepson is a Cumtown fan. Very funny. Dante de Blasio, Bill de Blasio's son, also a Cumtown fan. I gotta say, very impressed with their reach and fandom. The next generation of political leaders, like the next generation of black-pilled Democratic executioners who just finish us off as a civilization, will all be Cumtown fans. Yeah, and I'm sure they all hate us. Not because we're like owning their parents or something, but because we're fucking lame. Because growing up around politics, they think politics is lame. And talking about politics is lame. And they're right, it is lame. It's what you do when you're foreclosed other options of finding meaning and purpose. So yeah, they probably think we're absolute turbo dorks, and absolutely correct.
Oh man, I watched Saturday Night Live last night. I mean, it was a kind of reassuring to have it back, but then you watch it and you just see the way that they try to take something like that debate that we watched, which was a psychotic carnival of late imperial decadence, like fucking Mad King Ludwig playing with his own shit, but they turned it into something relatively normal. And then, of course, they brought in Kamala, because, like, if you take that as face value, those two old men going at it like that, and neither one of them having anything in their head but like the ghosts of ideas and memories and slights and without any connection to a greater project, without any ability to express or direct the flow of events, running for president, it's genuinely, like I said, it's freeing, but also if you have any sense, if you have any investment in the system, terrifying. And nothing has more investment in the system than something like SNL. SNL's existence. SNL exists to normalize everything as it happens and turn it into just fodder. And strip it of any context and strip it of any implications. So you watch, if you're a regular lib, if you're an SNL viewer or SNL writer, you watch that debate, the thought is, oh, it's okay because there's Harris, because there's a VP, because there's a whole party that's going to catch us. Even though if a guy like Biden can get in that position, and that's the position we vote for, then clearly something is off in this equation. We have miscalibrated the fucking power dynamics in a potentially fatal way. But that's okay, because there's Mommy Kamala is going to come. Mommy Kamala is going to come, and she's going to rest our head in her bosoms and lull us to sleep with a nice soft Caribbean lullaby. Just fantasy. God. Kamala Harris being president in 6 months is going to be such a fucking trip. She is someone that no one likes, that no one, even in California, they don't really like her. No one voted for president. I mean, literally, she didn't make it to the single fucking primary contest. Just popping in there like, hey, I'm the president now. After having a president who is such just the center of this storm of psychic energy, to have somebody who barely anybody can muster a thought about It's going to be very weird. That energy is going to have to go somewhere. Question is, where does it go?
That'd be very funny. I heard he unfollowed Trump and then refollowed him. I think we could say safely that Mike Pence will not be the president. I mean, I think we all knew that. Mike Pence and Kamala Harris are very similar in that they will never be president. Kamala Harris's only hope is that Biden dies in office, and these guys don't die anymore. They've invented some sort of adrenochrome suppository that is like long-lasting. They will not die. Biden will be a gibbering skeleton at age 96, and he will still be alive. So he's not going to die in office. He's not going to resign. She's not going to win a primary. And if she did win a general, she would get her fucking ass killed. And then Pence is the same way. Pence has zero chance to ever be president. He will be the traitor's traitor.
That stuff where Kamala Harris is like, we're going to be going to war for water. That's pretty funny. Just like, I guess, just letting everyone know. It's like, hey, y'all, just so everyone has a heads up, we're going to be going to war for water. I mean, why would you, if you're a politician, why would you say that? It's just wild. It's like, hey, war boys, get ready. I'm going to get shiny and chrome. She is a fascinating figure in a way. I mean, she's just such a blank. She's so, her capacity to just like laugh at all the most inappropriate moments. It's very interesting. It's very weird. Like, she's not a politician like Obama, you know, whose gift is keying into what people want to hear and to present a facade of humanity. And then you got Biden, whose whole deal is being like a bluff, hearty, fake Irish uncle. She just goes out in public with zero human affect. Like more of a Mitt Romney figure, a figure who wears their inhumanity proudly. And I guess you could say that makes sense, that she's the figure who will take power after Biden is like as the masks fall from Capitol, and as our political figures lose the requirement to perform humanity in order to be able to claim power, because our influence in the process becomes less and less. You get these people take power who are barely able to contain their contempt for the obligations, the rituals of behaving like a human being. Real lizard hours. I remember that time when after she became VP, or after she endorsed Biden, and they asked her, of course, the classic gotcha, what about all these horrible things you said about him at the debate, including that he's like racist and that he personally is responsible for her being like otherized while being bussed as a young student in California. And she just goes, "It's a debate," and just starts laughing. Now, I get that's the correct answer. It's a debate. This doesn't matter. But I don't know if I can think of anybody else who would have responded with that, who would have just been that dismissive of even the pretense that they had to act like there was a consistency there. And that's why nobody likes her. But that's also why there is the K-Hive, because she speaks to people who are similarly sick of pretending to be humans. I've seen some people like Kamala in the real world. I've heard tell of real Kamala fans. I saw a sign on a very big, very expensive house that said, "Congratulations, Vice President-elect Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris." Didn't even say Biden Harris. It said, "Congratulations, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris." And then after the inaugural, they got rid of the elect, and it just said, "Congratulations, Vice President Kamala Harris." So there are people who love her, and I think that they are wealthier people. I think people who work in some sort of supervisory capacity and who have a real identification with being a girl boss and also straining to hold back their frustration with their underlings. It'd be very funny, though, if she never gets to be president because Biden serves 2 terms. He's in a fucking exoskeleton by the end of it. He's our God Emperor 40K, Warhammer. Not Trump. It's him in the fucking suit. He wears like a big mech suit, but it's shaped like a 57 Cadillac with like the fucking fins and shit. Come on, man. I do wonder about Joe, though. I wonder how Joe's doing. He seems like he's. They're letting him out of the kennel, which is kind of interesting because it doesn't seem like he's doing too well. But I honestly feel like I feel more than anything that they are confident that the media is so in the bag for them, so terrified by Trump, and so so dedicated to like breaking America's addiction to Trump that they're willing to overlook anything. And they figure if nobody talks about it except the right, it'll turn into actually it's ableist racism to say that that Trump's brain is melting or that Biden's brain's melting.